Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of the 12 Days of Chocolatey. So glad that you could join us here again today. Now, just to remind you of our format again, we'll have a talk up front along with some Q&A, questions and time permitting, of course. So please feel free to discuss and ask questions in the chat. I see everybody showing up there already, which is great. Hi, good to see you all, Ryan, Corey, everybody. We strongly encourage your participation, of course, in the chat, and audience participation is a part of this. And of course, at an undisclosed time, I will be releasing the link for the day 2 survey that gives you the chance to win some prizes. So stay tuned for that too. So on day 1, of course, in our keynote, we covered the philosophy of simple. Now on our talk on day 2 is about redefining Chocolatey. You may have used open source Chocolatey to quickly install apps, maybe when you first get your laptop or when you're reformatting your home machine. But Chocolatey is about so much more than that, and we're going to explore that today. I'm going to hop over and make sure that Rob, okay, awesome, great. We'll hop in here. Okay, there we go. So there's our slides up. And so if we move on to the agenda now, Rob.
You bet.
Okay. So yes, covering our agenda. First of all, just to summarize some of the stuff today that we're going to be covering. First we'll talk about what is Chocolatey and sort of why you would use Chocolatey as a tool in your tool belt. And again, just to note that a lot of this we'll be discussing today is more on the fundamental side. It's theoretical. The technical deep dives are more so going to be happening in earnest tomorrow. So, we'll definitely cover some of the technical today if we can. So what is Chocolatey and why would you use Chocolatey as a tool? And then Rob is going to go into a little bit of an overview and pictures of what that looks like. Then we're going to compare Chocolatey as compared to other approaches to package management and software management and what makes Chocolatey unique. Of course, then we'll cover open source Chocolatey and also Chocolatey for Business, or C4B as we call it. And we'll also touch on the quick deployment environment. Awesome. So first things first, obviously, TLDR, the sort of TLDR version of this is, what is Chocolatey? People always ask that question when they first see this. So let me pull this up. Sorry, one sec, folks. There we go. So yeah, well, the short answer is, have you used package managers like Yum or apt on Linux? Well, if you have, it's simply that type of package manager, but for Windows. Now, that's the short TLDR version. Of course, we have a little bit of a longer version that I'll cover, and then Rob will spend some time here with us together going into the detail of what that means over the next couple of slides. So, Rob, if we could go to the next slide. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, let's start diving into this a bit more here. Just give me one sec. Okay, so obviously give us more information. So Chocolatey is a complete software management system for Windows that provides you total control over your software lifecycle. So this includes obviously a PowerShell-based framework for installing, upgrading, and installing your applications. So use that native language of PowerShell. If you understand PowerShell, it's going to be nice and easy for you to understand Chocolatey. And of course, it's going to be a universal new packaging format, a little bit of an enhanced format, new package format for zip scripts and binaries. So we use that standard so that you can understand it and be comfortable with it and maintain that standard throughout your packaging. And of course, this is a repeatable and pipeline-friendly approach. We can build this tool right into pipeline. It integrates well with other tools. So this approach to installation as patching is going to be nice and easy for you. Of course, we support all of the current Windows OSs. So everything that's currently not end of life on Windows is supported. Rob has a big commitment. We do it here at Chocolatey to be backwards compatible all the way up to PowerShell 2. So that's what we strive for with most of our applications and packages. Well, of course, then we have access to over 8,000 pre-made packages via the Chocolatey community repository. And that's a huge amount of packages that a lot of other platforms don't give you. So that's really what sets us apart is our community and our open source users we love and who support us well. So we appreciate all the contributions of all of our maintainers. Rob? Okay, so now we've dived into a little bit of that, and now we can kind of discuss the next logical question, which is why Chocolatey? Why are you making me care about this other thing, right? And let's talk about why Chocolatey can be a useful tool in your sysadmin toolkit. Firstly, application packaging in Windows is non-standard, and this is almost by design. And that's due in part to the many iterations of this OS over time, and it has a very much focus on a GUI-first approach. So EXEs, MSIs, MSIXs, Windows Store apps, all of these installer types have focused on a pretty and a clicky way to interact with that software and install it. And this click-first process doesn't really scale well in an organizational context. Second reason, if you have a quick, robust, and reliable way to create packages, this is going to make your install, upgrade, and install process seamless and easy to maintain with the focus on easy. And so that leads right into the next reason. If it isn't easy to update and patch your apps, it simply won't get done. So obviously, as sysadmins, we have this ever-growing to-do list, and it kind of feels like we're always being asked to do more with less resources. So ensuring that the applications installed on our servers and workstations have the latest updated versions can be a non-trivial task. And it often slips down on the to-do list, and honestly, it doesn't get done sometimes. So this lack of updates inevitably will lead us to vulnerable security risks in our organization and increase our risk exposure, which is not good. And of course, the last point that ties this all together is that DevOps and automation pipelines are not just the future, they're already here and they're here to stay. So as mentioned, being asked to do more with less all the time, there's only one way we can manage scaling ourselves. So it's to adopt that DevOps and automation mindset. And that's where a pipeline-friendly tool like Chocolatey can help. So now Rob's going to go into a deeper dive on the hows and whys of Chocolatey. So Rob, over to you, sir.
All right. Let's do this. Oh, that looks a little funky. See if we can fix that. There we go. Okay. Oh, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to take a look-see here. And I like that look-see. We're going to talk about how people normally get software to Windows. And so what you have, and pardon my drawing skills, I'm just going to go ahead. You have, let's say, an MSI. That's one delivery method. Let's see if this is updating. Is this updating on your screen? Does not look like it.
No, it does not.
All right, give me 1 second. We're going to go back here, and I'm going to make an adjustment real quick. We may have to go about this a little differently. It's always fun when these things have their technical difficulties. This kind of comes out in these talks more so than it comes out other places. So
I know we even rehearsed the stuff and everything beforehand. Then the demo gods decided to take over.
Demo gods.
Yeah.
Let's try that. Let's try to do this again.
Ta-da. Yep.
And sometimes it helps to restart things. It's not just a Windows problem. That's an everything problem.
We are learning as we go, folks. We are learning as we go.
Good times. All right, let's...
How's everyone doing in the chat, by the way, while Rob's doing this?
Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's working now. All right.
The video looks a little blurry, looks like, but that's okay. Hopefully the buffering will catch up.
Jumping back in.
Cool. Okay, nice. Let's yeah, I can see the screen. Let's see if you can draw.
This is really strange. I'm drawing. It's not drawing here. It's not like it's keeping up. Hold on just 1 second. Let's try a new note. Let's see if that works. No, it's still not working. Make sure that it looks like it's showing appropriately. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, let's flip over to share share my screen, and I'm going to change that out to a different view. And let's see here. Screen 2. And let's see if that will work for us.
Okay. Let's see how that looks.
That looks much better. Okay, so let's take away the... There, nice and clean. Okay. Well, it's starting to work itself out. And so we have an MSI, right? That's one way of delivering software. We have, let's see, NSIS, setup, right? Install shield, wise, all these different things. These are executable installers, right? So all these fun delivery methods. And then we have a newer contender, MSIX, and another way of getting stuff onto Windows that we bring in is, of course, Windows patches, so MSUs. And pardon my lovely drawing skills here.
You can tell this is authentic because of the way that Rob is drawing.
So all of this stuff goes into programs and features. And when we put this stuff into programs and features, and we're able to report on that, and everything's great, and it's not showing the stuff on the right where I wrote that. So I'm going to write it again over here. So programs. So this is in programs and features, right? Now, we have, of course, if this was the only way we got software on machines, that'd be fantastic. However, it's not. Maybe if I flip it this way, it'll show it a little better. Oh, there we go. Hey, that's actually going to be a little better for this. And maybe bring it in the hair here so we can see it better. Yeah, perfect. There are definitely other ways that we get software on Windows. So what's one of those ways? So sometimes stuff comes in the form of zips, right? That's a delivery format that we get things in. Another format is tools, right? So we can get tools or just binaries. We could get our own internal software. I have to play with this a little bit because it's only want to show a section here. So tools, zips, tools, and our own internal software. So we have internal software that we bring in, and we bring that as well. And hopefully we're not creating MSIs or executable installers out there. Sometimes you do. If you're doing that, you'll have to. Please stop. That's a lot of work. You don't have to do all of that work. There's a better way. And then another thing is sometimes we run scripts, right? And we need to run those scripts on the system to do something for us. Now, when we're bringing in these I'm sorry, I forgot one. So there's also files, just straight up files, right, that we might want to put onto a system. Now, in the traditional method of how we bring software to Windows and everything, every tool out there that you probably use, what it tracks is everything that has an installer, right? Everything that's in programs and features. So because of that, what we see is this is all we can track on. This is all we can report on. But guess what? When there's a security finding, it doesn't stop in programs and features. It goes to, wherever you have that software. And so being able to track all of that software is really, really important, right? And so this is what sets Chocolatey a little bit apart from all of the other things, is it's able to track that. So what Chocolatey does is it wraps around all of this chaos, right? And we can wrap up those components. I'm going to have to keep sliding this as we go into and I'm going to try to draw this, and Adil laughed at me the last time, so let's see how I do.
Yeah, I'm still going to laugh at you either way.
Yeah, I know. Try to draw a chocolatey package here, right? So there's C, there's the colon, there's the backslash, right?
I see.
So there's a chocolatey package. And so inside of a chocolatey package, we can put an MSI, we can put executable installer, we can put a Windows update, we can put zips or tools, binaries and stuff for scripts, our own internal software. We can put all of that in there. And guess what? We can put multiple items of that in there. So if we need files that an MSI needs to install, or something needs like an INI, we can actually drop that right inside of this Chocolatey package. So if you think about Chocolatey package, it's kind of like a fancy zip file, right? And so we say Chocolatey is, a package manager, right? Now, a lot of people, when we talk about package management, they don't really understand that term. And so sometimes we use the term software manager, as you've seen, right? And so that for definitely people that are just on Windows makes a lot of sense. And we're going to talk about why that is in a minute when we get back into, kind of talking a little bit more in depth about Chocolatey. So now, one of the things that Chocolatey brings to the table is consistency. So we have consistency, because we're getting above all that chaos, right? So Chocolatey is wrapping the chaos that is the Windows software ecosystem, wrapping all that chaos. And what it's bringing us is consistency, and it's bringing us some simplicity, if I can write it here, simplicity, right? So those two things are what Chocolatey is bringing to the table. Now, kind of thinking about that. So I've put all this stuff inside of a package. So what is it that Chocolatey does? It's a little different than other things. And so let's say over here, we have programs and features, right? And over here, we have our Chocolatey install. So this is where Chocolatey is keeping its information about what's installed, right? So this is the lib folder. And so when we call for a package to come in, so this is a Chocolatey package again, see whatever, right? It's going to come in, and we call install or whatever. And so this is sitting in a repository somewhere. So this could be on our own internal systems. This could be on the file system. This could be sitting on an SCCM distribution point. It really doesn't matter as long as there's a file share or an OData NuGet type repository. And so when it brings that in, and of course you can put authentication, all kinds of fun stuff around that, brings that into that system, it unpacks it here in this library. So this is where Chocolatey knows what's installed. And so we talk about Chocolatey packages. Chocolatey manages Chocolatey packages, right? And those packages may manage software that goes into programs and features. And so when it unpacks this, if that is an installer package, as we call them, what's going to happen is it will run a script, and the script will go and install or upgrade that software inside of programs and features. If that script or the lack thereof script tells it to do something else, like go set something in the registry, right? So it'll go put some value in the registry, or it tells it to go and copy some files here for a website, and then go ahead and set that file, that website up in IIS. Right? We have the ability to do all of that. And you know why we have the ability to do all that? Because Chocolatey is using the language of Windows automation, PowerShell, right? And so it basically frees us to do quite a bit. Now, what I think we're ready to is jump back into the slides. And so I'm just going to click back over here because I'm already sharing my screen. Adil, if you wouldn't mind, if you could drop us into the bottom corner of this. So
sure. Yeah, no problem. Let's do that now.
Switch back.
Right. So spotlight. There you go. It seems like we're having refresh issues on this. Let me just pop this out and see if we can do this again.
There we go.
There we go. And pop us in there.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Hey,
great. Hey. Nice when things work like you intend them to, hey?
Yeah.
Funny.
Sometimes
Funny how that works.
Sometimes, sometimes we get
Awesome. Go ahead, Rob.
So what we know about package managers is that we are having
looks like the refresh is not happening again. Yeah.
So this is being real strange.
Perhaps if you reshared the screen, dropped off and reshared the screen, Rob.
Yeah, let's do that.
That'll help.
And let's try this. Share the. Let's try that.
Okay, let's see how that looks. And go ahead.
All right. So what we know about package managers is they automate software management in a consistent manner. However, the term package management, really the term package, is overloaded, right? Most Windows admins, we readily understand software management better, right? And so when we talk about chocolatey, I always like to ask people when they say, "Hey, what is chocolatey?" I say, "Well, do you understand Linux or apt-get?" And if they say yes, I say, "Well, it's just like that, but for Windows." If they say no, what's a software manager? Because they readily understand that a lot better than package manager. And a lot of the reasons why is there's been many, many years of folks have been creating installers and thinking that that is a package. And honestly, as you think of the high level word package, where you put things into a container, yes, installers can be a form of packaging. As far as package management goes, it is a much more clearly defined definition of what a package is. And so installers themselves cannot be a package in a package management framework. And so kind of diving in on that a little bit, talking about the difference between Chocolatey and MSI is, as you look at MSI, have you ever created MSI, Adil?
I have.
Yeah.
Once upon a time. It was nice and painful.
Nice and painful. Anybody in the comments, have you ever created an MSI? Now, what I've never heard anybody say is that it was fun to create an MSI. I've heard it's very painful. I've used Wix, and we've had to do things like customization. Now, if you use the MSI and the Windows installer language and the way that it is set, and you do everything that's there, and you're not trying to do anything like maybe choose between programs 64, programs in files 64 or 86 based on something, then you kind of get away with not having to do custom actions. However, as the world has moved on and there's a lot of new technological things that we have to do, you actually require custom actions. And custom actions, as we know with MSIs, are the work of the devil. Like, you should not do them. But we know that we typically need to if we're doing that. It does, you have to become very, I guess, specialized skill set is the way to say it, right? So there's a bit of learning when you're creating MSI. If you learn, when you actually crack open and look at an MSI, it looks like a little database. And because it is, that's basically the design of what you get there. And so it doesn't lend well for something that you're wanting to go through, maybe like a procedure or other things like that. And so another really interesting thing about MSIs is they haven't really kept up with technology. And so it's not necessarily MSI, it's more the Windows installer language. And of course, that's had a few iterations. However, if you're like installing a service as part of that MSI, and you want to give people the ability to say, hey, I want this service to turn on automatically, or I want this service to turn on, as maybe be manual or maybe be a delayed start. You actually have to create 3 sections that look exactly the same, big old sections, because that value that goes in there is a literal. You cannot put a variable in there to say, I want this to be passed in by a property, which is weird. So you create 3 of these sections exactly the same, and the only difference between them is that one string literal and a condition. And as you know, as you try to create that, there's this thing called ICE that will check everything. It'll actually throw a whole bunch of warnings at you when you do this. But it's the only way to do that. Now, when you go to work with Chocolatey, it's incredibly easy to create a package. Like, you just run choco new something, or if you're using package builder using our commercial side, you simply right click on a tool like a thing like an MSI, and you get that created very quickly. Now, you create the package, you use PowerShell, right? Imagine that, revolutionary. You use PowerShell to do everything. And because developers know how to use PowerShell, system admins know how to use PowerShell, this is the language of Windows automation. What that means is there is a lot of folks out there that can create Chocolatey packages very, very easily and be able to have really powerful deployments without a lot of work or trying to get in and learn a very specialized skill set. What's also great about this is Chocolatey fully automates the installation. So the difference between that and MSI, MSI has another tool called MSIEX, MSIX, that actually runs that installation. However, it doesn't manage the silent install, right? So it's not about fully automating that installation. You actually have to pass switches that have to do with that particular MSI. And those aren't always consistent, right? As you know, this is there's like /qn that you can pass, and that's supposed to make something install silent. You usually want to pass no restart so it doesn't reboot your machine. However, There are a lot of packages out there, a lot of MSIs out there that break this contract. Like, I'm not going to pick on you much here, Splunk, but your Splunk forwarder tool has a little thing that says, I agree to license. It's an MSI property. You have to pass, and you have to put equals true, or it will not install silently. So this is actually, in my opinion, it's breaking the contract of, you're saying this MSI can be installed silent. If I just pass QN, you can't, always say that. And so that's kind of interesting. Like, you actually have to think about those things, right? And so the other aspect of that is when it comes to Chocolatey, of course, you pass the -Y, and all of that stuff has already been figured out for you in the package to fully automate that, so it's completely silent. What Chocolatey also gives you is this consistency, right? Because you can pass -Y to these packages, you don't have to think about, do I have to pass these other things? Because that's already been worked out inside of the packaging itself, right? It's also gives you a very consistent method of management, right? So it's very consistent. I'm able to say, Choco install these things, Choco upgrade these things, all that stuff. Now, another really interesting thing here is Chocolatey manages dependencies, right? So these packages become building blocks that kind of sit up on top of each other. And so if you have a dependency on, say, the .NET framework, some version, you can simply take a dependency on that and have another package that does that. And what's great about that is another package can also take a dependency on that. Another package can take a dependency on that. And so you're not out there bloating up all of these installers with having to bake in that install for the .NET framework and making those checks. What you just say is, I depend on this, and Chocolatey knows how to go and bring that to the system, ensure that it's there if it's not, right? Where with MSI, you have to kind of manage that yourself. And so there's a lot of thought process that goes into that as well. That's not always fun. All right. So now, another revelation, zip archives, also a form of packaging, and packaging in general, not packaging like package management. Now, these, again, they're very easy to create. It's, if you think about Chocolatey and the actual wrapped up package of a Chocolatey package, it is actually kind of a zip, a very fancy zip, because it brings a manifest that tells Chocolatey some information, has a contract in it that tells Chocolatey how to process that package. And so it gives us a very consistent method, again, a consistent method of management, and we get dependencies, and we get all the other stuff as well. And now a zip, it's just a zip, right? So you can customize it however you want. There is no consistency about it. If you want, you can have PowerShell scripts in there as well. But it really, zip stuff itself, it doesn't handle the installation, so you're going to need another tool to do that. And there's really no consistency at all. So you're kind of building that consistency and hope it's there, but it's not enforced. So with Chocolatey, that's more enforced. You get that nice contract you can lean on, and it's consistent. So you know that it's going to do that every single time. And also zip archives, similar to MSIs, they don't manage dependencies. So you're kind of left to do that on your own. And one of the really big ones is versioning strategies. Zip archives by themselves, they don't have a versioning strategy, right? So you don't have this path to upgrade as simply as you do with Chocolatey. Or path of picking a particular version and going about it. So there are other tools out there that help manage, where some of them might say they do package management. I'm not going to name any names. I'm sure you guys can figure these things out. Now, what's really interesting, and I'm not going to pick on any one of them, so you can see some of this stuff looks like it's repeated a little bit. It's kind of munging together different tools that are out there. And so
can I say, Rob?
You cannot say, sir. Better not.
Okay.
So try to keep it friendly, right? Yes. So packages themselves in some of these frameworks actually have to be installers. So if you want to create a package to go along with them, you actually have to create an MSI or an MSI EX or an X, not EX, or an executable installer. So setup, or pick your poison there. And so when you're trying to take those other ones, you're trying to bring it internal for some of your internal software or other things that you might deploy to be able to actually use them, you have to do a lot more work, right? And so you may be able to, some of them, they only work with third-party installers, right? That's it. There are no other options. This might be revolutionary, but YAML is not a package. It's not a packaging format because a package means it contains things, right? So there are some out there, they don't have scripts where you can compensate for installers. Now, a great example of that is I want to install Git. I want to set the line feed at the end. So I want to set that. I want to make sure that some of the Git tools are on the path. Guess what? There are zero. There's no switches that I can pass to that installer to make it do that. Yet the Chocolatey package can manage that, right? It is working over the deficiency of that installer. And I'm not saying a bad installer, it's not a bad installer, of not having those options available by going in and looking at what you've passed it as options and going to the registry to make those settings for you that the installer would do if you're running that installer by hand, right? If you don't have the ability to run scripts, you cannot do that, right? And that's just one example. There are tons of examples out there, and the reason that you need the flexibility of being able to run PowerShell as part of that package management. Now, as you look at package management on like Linux, those different ones that are out there, guess what? Almost all of them have the ability to run Bash, right? And like it or not, that's kind of the thing, right? When you are working with packages, true packages, that doesn't necessarily mean they go into programs and features as you think about that. They could be really anything. And so as you kind of step back and you say, okay, well, I understand Windows, I understand kind of the way that Windows works to have these installers, but that's not the only way I get software. And so the simplest thing that could work, right, is something that allows me to kind of manage all of that. Now, Chocolatey has a feature, and it's a very off-scene feature, and it is that these installer packages. So a lot of times you go out, you look at the community repository, and you say, look at all these packages. All of these packages are wrapping installers. Now, not all of them are, but I would say a very large percentage of them are. Now, a lot of people think that is how Chocolatey works. It's not. That's just one feature. Is that we can wrap installers. Now, another revelation is you're going to look on that community repository, you're going to say, you know, all those packages up there, a lot of them aren't actually containing the binaries. That's weird. It's actually not weird. What it is that up on the community repository, there's this thing called distribution rights and copyright law. So when you have a public repository, you actually can't take some of Microsoft tools and put them inside of your package and share that with folks, because Microsoft would get very angry with you, and a lot of other companies would as well. And so there's another feature that of course Chocolatey has that helps it work with this, and it's as part of that packaging, it can tell it to go download that stuff ahead of as part of that install, and then go ahead and install it on the system silently. Now, with that comes its own failure points and breaking points. And so when you're creating packages for your organization internally, don't reach out to the internet, right? Make sure you put those packages, put those binaries and stuff inside of the package. You embed that in because you get the best packaging format with that, and you get the best experience, and it's very scalable. And it can be done without having to be online or having to have any kind of internet access, which is exactly what you want typically in an organization. Now, Chocolatey manages all software. We've already kind of covered that. And the internal repository is super easy to set up. Now, Chocolatey, as we kind of discussed, can automate the management of all software on Windows now, and that being consistent. Now, the reason that we say that is that most of these traditional tools that are out there, they allow you to automate the management and reporting and all of that of everything that goes into programs and features. So again, installers, where Chocolatey is like, we care about more, because you know what, you could have something on your system that has a security find. So you don't have to have Git installed. You could have a Git portable version. And if it contains Bash and Bash has a security finding, if you're using Chocolatey, you're able to find that very quickly, right? If you are using something else, you have to do much more deep scanning, and you may not know where you're actually compromised, right?
Hey, Rob.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, not to interrupt you, sir. Just wanted to call out a few things because we're getting some questions in the chat, so we might as well answer them as we go, if that's
Let's hit
cool.
some of those.
Yeah. So here's a good one up recently that I wanted to call attention to. Something that we're going to address later a little bit more. Can I use Chocolatey to track programs already installed without Choco that are listed under programs features? If so, how?
Yes, you can. We're actually going to get into that in a little while.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to defer that question for now, sir.
Yeah, that's specifically a Chocolatey for Business feature. A couple of different pieces of that, which is Chocolatey sync and show all programs. And
there's a way to do it with open source as well. We'll talk about that too.
Awesome. Great. And also there was another one that I just wanted to call attention to. I know Manfred had some questions earlier, but Manfred. It looks like those are more. Manfred always has questions, so it looks like those are something we can address later in deeper dives here. So here's another one that's a common question we get on demos, which is how efficient is Chocolatey with servers? Would patching work with Chocolatey? So specifically, when we talk about patching, are we talking about OS patching, or are we talking about patching those third-party software apps, right? And often, that can be OS patching in a lot of those cases. So there are a couple of ways to approach that. You can pack MSUs, KBs in Chocolatey packages if you choose to. It's not necessarily what we'd consider a drop-in replacement for something like WSUS. For something like that, that's more of a tool use specific. Not yet, but that's definitely one of those stay tuned features. So when central management ramps up here in our roadmap, when we talk about that, you may hear some stuff about Windows updates as well. So stay tuned for sure. But thank you for that question.
I would address the first part of that. Very efficient. The thing about Chocolatey is it takes up very little space. It's meant to be able to be put on the worst performing Windows system, and still, because you got to manage that too, right? So you have to be able to manage even those systems that aren't up to snuff. And so Chocolatey is built and designed so that it can be on those and be very efficient on those systems, and very scalable because it works everything from the client typically. Aside from what we do on that commercial side. All right, so what makes Chocolatey unique is it's made for automation, that you are able to create and host your own packages, which you can do even with open source hosting and creating. And the big thing, though, is it's really about packaging for the masses, because we allow for PowerShell to work with both developer. I mean, PowerShell is very well known, and it works so that developers and system admins can really get in and do packaging and be able to be very successful. Where a lot of the other things that you've seen out there in the past require some specialized knowledge, Chocolatey is just picking up that PowerShell and figuring out how to put it inside of packaging, which when you run Choco New, it kind of helps you down that path anyway, because we have a nice template that walks you through with that. Because we can manage all software, we can report on all software, which again is super important, because you can't manage what you don't know about, right? And so being able to see that allows you to overcome security issues and other things very, very quickly. Does strive for simple, and there's a couple other things that are really interesting about Chocolatey that are often overlooked, but also very powerful. And one of those is the shimming, and that we have the ability to extend the functionality of Chocolatey. So I said made for automation. We'll touch on these quite quickly, but we have the command line interface. That was first, right? So setting up a consistent behavior. And then, of course, understanding user intent. So here's my quick rundown on what understanding user intent is. If I was asking to upgrade a database and I did not have a database set up yet, the end intent of the user is to have a database there and set up. And so when I ask to do that, it should install that if it doesn't exist. Right, because the end intent of the user was to have that upgraded, right? And in 98% of the cases, that's exactly what the user intent was. And so we spend a lot of time thinking about what is the user intent when they say Choco upgrade something, and it's the package doesn't actually exist on the system, right? It's able to do that. Now, a really interesting thing is, even that we understand user intent, we don't constrain your options, right? So we allow you to say, you know what, upgrade this package, but I'm going to set a feature flag or something else to say, if it's not there, I don't actually want it to install it because I only want it to upgrade on systems where this exists. So you do have that option. And that's something that it's really important is we don't understand all the use cases, and we know that. And so we want to make sure that you have the options when it comes to yours. And we are going to account for 80 to 90% of those of the kind of the default way of going about it that helps get you into that pit of success. Creating your own packages. So I already talked about Choco New. And so it's getting everything kind of set up for you so you can just kind of build from there. What's really interesting about we can so package maintenance, also very easy. So one of the things that we thought about as we were building Chocolatey, thinking about this is not only the creation of packages and the using of the packages should be easy, but the maintenance side should also be very easy, right? So we should make it easy for folks to be able to upgrade a package, or sorry, get a package that needs to have the new versions of stuff, and you just literally drop in the new installers. So these 3 data points, you update the version and you update the installer information, and so you got 3 data points there. And rebuild that package, push it up, and you're able to then upgrade all of your systems, right? And then we have an abstraction, right? That abstraction that we talked about earlier is Chocolatey is able to wrap around all of that chaos, and getting above that chaos, it's able to give us very good consistency and simplicity, right? Now, we talked about packaging for the masses. Now, we've had that Chocolatey package, and I didn't touch on this, but Adil did it first. It is a NUPKG file. Now, I will tell you that the correct pronunciation of this is new package, because it has the word package as part of it. I will tell you that if Gary's on or other people are on right now, they're going to tell you it's NUPKeg. I don't like that term, but yeah, there's Gary telling me it's wrong.
Yeah.
So now, because we've taken the NuGet packaging format and we've actually enhanced it to work much better with machine packaging. Sorry. Now, I've already said a lot of this as well, so no reason to recover that. But the big thing to drive home is because we have PowerShell here, we can do anything, right, that we want with our packaging. So our packaging doesn't actually have to install anything. It can simply, set some registry key, or it can go and drop some files somewhere, and that counts, right? And we should probably get a vote going of whether it's NUPKeg or new package. See what folks in the comments say.
I think it's going to be the tabs versus spaces thing. We're going to divide the audience.
Versus spaces. I think at the end we can all agree it's a Chocolatey package. All right, so I touched in this a little bit, and just to reiterate, is that security findings, they don't stop at programs and features, so why would you, right? So why would you, if you're managing something and you want to manage all of your software on your machine, why would you use a tool that only manages to what's in programs and features, right? So that's where Chocolatey is going to make the big difference for you. It's going to get you into those other areas as well. We strive for simple. You heard me talk about this yesterday. We look for patterns in deployment, and we look to bring that up and make it easier. And if you've ever created a Chocolatey package and you see, I just need about 4 data points if I'm doing an installer package, and that's it. And the rest of that is in the pattern and the convention that does that for me, and the method that I call install Chocolatey install package, right? It does all that work for me. And I don't really have to think about that. We do convention over configuration. Now, convention means that 80% of the time we're going to take you down the right way. So we have conventions that kind of give you a nice prescriptive way. Now, when I've heard the term convention over configuration, sometimes people think that means you don't have any configuration, and that is not true. Convention over configuration means we provide the most prescriptive approach that works for 80 to 90% of the use cases, but we allow you to configure that so you can do it your way if it's different, right? Which helps a lot of folks. They fall in the pit of success when we have those conventions. Now, I like to say Chocolatey, and a lot of our tools are what I would call a knife. A knife's it's a very sharp tool, and it can do a lot of great things. However, if you use it wrong, you might cut yourself, right? And so we help you down with that convention. But if you want to cut yourself, or if you know better, sometimes you know better, or you have a different use case, you can go and you can configure things and do it the way that you need to do, right? So that's one of the great things you'll always find in any of the tools that I'm usually involved with, is that we give you a convention, but if you need to do it a different way, you have that ability. All right, so this is what I was thinking about talking about before, but I was like, hold on, I know there's a slide coming for this, and this is executable shimming. Now, what the heck does that mean? So what happens is if I take a Chocolatey package and I create it, and I get rid of the PowerShell script, and I literally drop in an executable tool. It could be a command line tool. It could be a GUI that I want popped up, but I drop that in the package. I fill out the manifest, and I build that package, and that's it, right? So a very simple package. It doesn't even feel like that should work. But what happens is I install that, and Chocolatey will take a shim, so it'll create a little executable of that, the executable itself, put it over into a folder that's already on the path. And so then I can just go Choco install some tool, and then I can call some tool right after, right? It doesn't sound like a lot there, but the power of being able to do that is just pretty insane, right? Now, and we talked about this earlier. There's this, of course, symlinks. Now, if a symlinks are interesting and they could sort of do something similar in limited use cases, A, you have to be an admin. But B is if that symlink, or sorry, if that executable has any files that need to be sitting next to it that it depends on, you have to symlink all of those. And folders that are dependent under that, those all have to be symlinked as well. And so we have a whole page in our documentation under features that talks about this. I recommend if you're curious on what's the difference between shimming and symlinks, head into the docs, docs.chocolatey.org. We announced that yesterday. Looks fantastic.
And you can
and
just
I can say that because
function right at the top.
It wasn't me that did it. It was our team, and they did a great job on it.
Yeah, a lot of hard work by Gary.
A lot of hard work by Gary and Stephanie. Yeah. Looks amazing. Extendable design, right? So a lot of people don't know this, but if you have like pre-flight checks that you want to do, or post-flight checks, or like other things that you want to do that you find yourself doing in all of your packages, you actually have the ability to create a PowerShell module as a Chocolatey extension package. And then you can actually install that, take a dependency on it, install it. And then you don't have to worry about how do I import this module. You don't have to worry about any of that because of the way you've created this. So you've literally created an extensions folder in the package and dropped in your PowerShell module with a little thing on how to load it up, a PSM1 file. I don't know if PSD works. I imagine it should. So we should probably make that also work. And then what Chocolatey will do is you'll see that and it'll just bring that over. And then when Chocolatey loads up to run, it'll go and load up that extension, and it'll go basically to import all of those functions. So you can just call the functions in your Chocolatey packages as if everything was loaded up, right? And then good to go. All you have to do is make sure that you take that dependency. They're pretty awesome.
Yeah,
and
I gotta say, these two features specifically from open source Chocolatey, I have to say, package shimming, which is sort of like what I call, symlinks on steroids, and PowerShell modules auto loading with the extension dot extension. Those are two of my favorite features.
Yeah. All right. This we need to go just a hair faster. So we actually practiced, and it was coming on time, but with some of our issues, looks like we might go over a hair. I hope that's okay for folks because we got a lot of good stuff here.
Okay, so talk fast.
Yeah, talk faster, Rob. I'll try not to. So you have basically open source and the professional edition, which are typically targeted toward one machine, right? So you got Choco, and then you got Chocolatey for Business, which is much more about all your machines, right? And so as we think about open source, it's geared towards a pull mechanism for one Windows system software manager, as we like to say, for one machine. And that includes Choco EXE, which is our command line interface, or CLI, and Chocolatey GUI. And so it allows us to really manage that one system. Now, there's a lot of tools out there, of course, Puppet, Ansible, all those that kind of build up on top of that and allow you to kind of work that so it goes against multiple machines. And of course, we always recommend pairing that with the commercial edition, but there's nothing that necessarily requires that. Now, when we think about the spirit of open source, right, and we have the code, it's freely available. You think about that as you think there's not really support necessarily, but and the documentation is there, but it's a little rough around the edges, right? And so you are trading, and there's a commercial edition available versus open source. You're trading your time, $4, right? So it's much more of a DIY, where when you're a consumer, you're also typically a creator and producer. You got to kind of do some work, right? Roll up your sleeves, get your hands a little dirty. And so as we think about what does open source address, right? It allows us to provision a machine, upgrade a machine, right? Install things on a machine to report the software that's on a machine, right? Notice the singularity of it, right? A machine. Now, a couple other things that it does for us is, like I mentioned, it does integrate with other tools. So we do have that. And it does give us that consistent approach to managing all software, and we're able to create packages for third-party and internal stuff as well. Now, things that it does not manage, it doesn't manage endpoints, right? It doesn't manage the ability for us to do reporting organization-wide. It doesn't manage, and this is back to that question earlier, does not manage existing installed software. There are ways that you can make it do that, but that's not what it's geared towards. And so as you start to bring on a package that you want to manage, let's say you had Chrome installed, and there was a chocolatey package for Chrome, you could simply install that Chrome package. And probably about 80% of the cases, it will just take over the management of that software for you. As you install a newer version of a package that represents a piece of software that you have installed. So that's one way about it. Another way is you can register the packaging without actually linking it up to the software. And so that's like Choco install Chrome, skip automation scripts, right? And so it'll bring in the packaging, but it won't run the stuff that would make it look to see if that software is installed or do anything there. So those are ways that you can do that. Now, again, it's not really about managing that existing installed software. And so that's kind of where you get into some of those other features in the commercial side. And so that brings us into Chocolatey. And so this gives us a software and endpoint management for our entire fleet of our Windows system. So as we like to think about this is complete software management for all your machines, right? That brings a license extension. You have the ability to do branding. A lot of people don't know that. You get an agent, a client, right? So a service that's running on your agents, and then you also get Chocolatey Central Management, which is kind of our premier flagship secure endpoint manager, right? And so this gives us the ability to manage all the software and manage all the machines, right? I borrowed this image here. You've seen this image before. This is actually the stages of a software developer, where the guy that's sitting down on the ground here on the left is an employed software developer, and the guy that's up in the suit and coat, he's the guy that's looking to get an interview, an unemployed software developer. So I've flipped it on its head a little bit. And so as we think about this in the spirit of commercial, right? Spirit of commercial is about smooth and polished. So you're thinking that I'm getting something that has packaged solutions with it. It's going to make things easier than what I would have seen over using open source. And I get support, right? I have the ability to lean on support to kind of help me through things. I also get a much more consumer-only driven model, right? So I'm able to just work towards more of that consuming stuff. Now, with that in mind, what you see in open source, right? So FOSS open source, Chocolatey for Business also addresses those, but it also brings with it that a secure ability to manage endpoints with one interface, and that can be worldwide internet. It could be completely offline and internal to my organization, but I get that reporting across my entire organization. I get better security. So security in open source is good. There's a much bigger focus on making that security a lot better in the commercial edition, right? And so you'll see that. You get rapid creation and deployment of software. You get synchronization. So as we were talking earlier on the open source side, you got some methods to kind of manage it. In Choco, in Chocolatey for Business, you can literally run Choco Sync, and it'll take all that software that you're not yet managing and bring it under management. Now, the reason, lots of reasons why that's not available in lower editions is that does not yet work with a repository. It works off of the idea of naming these packages the right way. Some of those packages is coming from the community repository, and we have names that are different. You have ways to work around that if you are syncing and internalizing, doing things and pulling them in from that community repository as well. So definitely that synchronization with the existing software is a fantastic use case. Another side of that is if you are, say, reporting, doing your inventory reporting in a tool like SCCM or Intune or something like that, and you're pulling from programs and features, right? You're only getting half the story. And so one of the things you can do on Chocolatey for Business is you can turn on what we call packages to programs. Actually, Adil coined that term. I had it like very, really like six word sentence was the name of the feature. But you turn on this packages to programs features. And so all of those Chocolatey packages that don't have installers will suddenly appear in programs and features for you, which means they get reported up into your already existing inventory reporting tools. Fantastic. Now, a couple other things here, and of course you get access to the Windows automation experts, and you see a couple of us here today, and you'll see the rest of us over the 12 days. Now, reporting and inventory, there's a few features that kind of go into this solution that allows us to do much better inventory reporting. So there's package auditing. Again, this is a feature that we don't really highlight a lot. What this gives me the ability to do is not just see what's installed, what version, but also who installed it, when was it installed, what's the history of that, right? So that's some things that you might want as an organization, and we have that. So once you have Chocolatey for Business, you're able to get that package auditing as well. I already talked about the packages to programs and features, or packages to programs synchronization. You get that ability to do that inventory reporting into other tools. You get Choco Sync. You get central management reporting as well.
Sorry,
Now,
just real quick. I know we're crunching on time, but there was a really important question here, which is sorry, over here, where we're talking about it'd be nice if there was a way to set up an internal repo and have said repo keep packages up to date. So stay tuned for the QDE stuff there, because we are going to look at some of that and the Jenkins pipeline automation around that for sure. Just to call that out real quick, and just doing a quick time check. We have 3 minutes left, but it looks like we're going to carry over on today.
We're going to carry over. So if you need to go, you can drop off, folks. Now, that I want to address that question a little bit. Yes, there's absolutely an automated way. You're going to see that. There's a few sessions that we'll talk about at the end of this that you should definitely make sure you come to, Aaron, and anybody else that's interested. All right. So in speed and optimization, so you think about I'm open source, I'm creating a package. How can I do that faster? And that's where we've put that on steroids, as some people like to say, with the package builder concept, where I can simply right click on an installer, and in about 5 to 10 seconds, I get a fully automated ability to install. Now, it's not perfect, because every piece of software out there is a special software installer, especially are special snowflakes. But about 70 to 80% of the use cases, you get a fully ready to go package. If it's an MSI, it's about 99%. And the reason it's 99% is, again, tools and installers like Splunk for it. Now, the nice thing is we take all those MSI properties and we pop them into some comments. And so you can look through those and, oh, I need to go get this I agree to installer, and go put that up inside of there if you're using Package Builder with that. Package Internalizer, this really gets us that speed and optimization. This is part of what we'll be talking about, Aaron, is that I'm able to automate package internalization. And internalization basically takes a package from the community repository, pulls down the binaries, and internalizes them into the packaging itself, so that there's no longer a need for internet access, and brings that to your repository so that you can push it out to your constituents and whatever. Package Reducer, another feature we don't talk about a lot. When we think about space usage on a machine, so I install a Chocolatey package, it unpacks, and it installs something, and then it leaves some of those artifacts there. Package Reducer cleans all that up for me, right? Cleans it up all nice and automatic. So if I'm bringing let's say it's a 1 gigabyte installer, I unpack that. Now I have 2 gigabytes sitting on that system, and then I install it, and then I have whatever unpacked onto the system as well. I'd like to clean up those 2 gigabytes, right? So the installer inside of the packaging that came with it, and the installer that's sitting there on the system unpacked. And Package Reducer will clean those up for me. Package Throttle is really an optimization thing. So Chocolatey works in low bandwidth environments with Package Throttle. I'm able to slow things down. Right. So Chocolatey doesn't say if I have like a T1 line that's coming to some system, I don't want to overwhelm it. And so I might want to slow Chocolatey down a little bit, and to be able to bring that thing in. Package Throttle allows me to do that. In security and access, of course, I'm bringing back up Package Internalizer because we're taking these things offline, bringing them in, and we're using this packaging CDN where these files and binaries have already been checked against virus total and other things out there and have gone through moderation, and we know they're typically pretty good. When you do that internalization, you can rest a little bit more comfortably knowing that 60 to 70 antivirus scanners have probably already looked at these installers that you're internalizing into the packaging. But we also offer the ability for you to do virus scanning, so you can actually turn it, set up the things in the config that tell you, hey, this is where when I get ready to install this software, I want you to actually do a virus scan right now and make sure that it's good. There's a lot more feature toggles. Like you can actually turn off on Chocolatey the ability for a non-admin to even be able to run Chocolatey, and there's some other feature toggles in there so that really deal with security. In CCM itself, central management, we have a lot of role-based access control, and you have control of setting that up. You can create your own roles as well. And we have another thing called self-service anywhere. And so what self-service gives us the ability to do is say, hey, there's a user, and we want to empower them to install a software that we've approved, but we don't want to give them administrative rights. But we don't want a tech running around all over the place trying to get the software installed for them, and we don't want them to have to go log in and remote in their machines. So I'm actually freeing up my techs, and I'm giving those people the power to actually install their own software, and I'm not losing my security posture in doing that. And I could do that securely over the internet, and our team can definitely show you how to do that. That comes a lot with the QDE thing that we're going to talk about in a bit. Oh, speaking of QDE.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah. So speaking of QDE, so I'm going to do a little bit of a summary on a lot of this stuff, folks, as well, just so you have it, just for your reference here too. Let me move this over here and take a look. Yeah. So QDE. Now, it's one of the quickest and easiest ways to try out a full-fledged Chocolatey for Business solution in your organization. It's called the Quick Deployment Environment, so we call it QDE internally. That's when you hear the acronym, that's what we're referring to. And it's a single appliance VM that we have in many different flavors, like VMDK, OVF, as well as VHD file and Azure image as well, that you can convert. And it comes with all the necessary pieces for software packaging, automation, deployment, and tracking. So we'll touch on these in the next slide here. Rob, please, next slide. Yeah. And so
apologies about that.
Yeah, no problem. So all the cool C4B features that we talked about, Chocolatey for Business, again, another acronym you hear a lot, C4B, is Chocolatey for Business. So these C4B features come baked right into QDE. So this includes Chocolatey Central Management, of course, that web dashboard, an internal repository. So in this case, we're using Sonatype Nexus, open source, and packaging internalization pipeline of Jenkins. And this will auto-internalize your apps from the Chocolatey community repository. In addition, you get some scripts to help you quickly onboard endpoint clients to be managed by CCM going forward. So again, CCM, another acronym, Chocolatey Central Management. That's our web dashboard. And so it's also worth mentioning that a lot of organizations implement QDE as like a demo POC environment on a trial license, and then they end up keeping it and rolling their full C4B license into it. And so our general rule of thumb around that is that if you're managing more than 1,000 endpoints and hundreds of software packages, it may be better to set up a distributed architecture, but we're totally happy to help you coach you through that if need be. But generally, for a lot of folks that are under 1,000 nodes and under a certain amount of packages, this is a very robust solution and works really well. And we find a lot of customers go straight from demo POC to production with it. So very effective that way. Next slide, Rob. Cool. So some of the key takeaways now that we had of this, Rob did a really good comparison of open source over, sort of the DIY approach with open source as compared to Chocolatey for Business, which is more about that rapid setup delivery and that secure organizational solution for all. And again, we'll get into this more in the next couple of days with QDE and building packages and some of the other stuff with CCM, as well as in our webinar, where you talk about those secure remote solutions for organizations as well with CCM. And of course, the biggest thing is with QDE, you can deploy Chocolatey for Business in minutes instead of days. Sometimes those older implementations, when you're doing a distributed infrastructure, you got to work with your VM teams, get all your VMs spun up and stuff like that. This is just one VMDK file. You get it up and running, drop in your license, run one script, and you're ready to go. But Stevie, who's in the chat, is going to be angry if I steal all of his thunder for his QDE actual day of QDE coverage. So we'll leave that for that day. I won't highlight it too much. So if we could get to the next slide, Rob. Cool. So this is the big part of it here. So a lot of the advanced functionality, and I'm going to summarize some of it here that we showed off today, is a part of that Chocolatey for Business feature set. Now I'll highlight a few of these biggest value add features for you here. I know that Rob touched on them in detail as well. So Package Builder, as we talked about, is going to give you that ability to take any exe, MSI, zipper script, and automatically turn it into a Chocolatey package in as little as 5 seconds. And that's that right-click context menu built right in with the Chocolatey for Business license. And it'll even inspect that installer and figure out all the silent arguments for you, be it install, shield, wise, setup, MSI, you name it. It's going to work on a good 70 to 80% of those installers just out the box. And you can actually dig in and expand that package. And we'll look at that a little bit more on the next day when we get into package building on day 4, I believe. And so Package Internalizer is the other approach, which takes those 8,000 plus packages on the maintainers have done the hard work of building for you in the community repository and creates just localized offline versions of those packages. As well as doing some dependency management around that. So you can push those to your internal repos then, and then deploy them to tens, hundreds, even thousands of nodes robustly and reliably every time. So without being dependent on external web resources or hitting any rate limits from a public feed. Package sync, as Rob has mentioned before, It's going to allow you to bring those non-greenfield environments where you have Chocolatey package, where you have software installed before Chocolatey was even present. You can be able to bring those into into Chocolatey management. So before Chocolatey was present, if you installed that software, you're going to be able to create Chocolatey inventory package records for those, and going forward, manage that software in the Chocolatey package manner and going forward. And so that's an easier way to do it. And there's a couple other features with sync as well, sort of showing you programs, sort of software and packages and programs and features. That's that packages to programs. That's a tough tongue twister feature to encompass. But sync gives you a couple of different features there, which are pretty cool. Also, auto sync lets you update if apps get removed and stuff like that. So definitely a useful feature there. And so Chocolatey GUI, coupled with self-service background mode, as Rob touched on, it's going to give your end users the ability to install and update packages in a repository of your choosing without handing over any admin rights or elevated permissions to them. So that's a big one for a lot of folks who have desktop use cases. They want to give their end users the ability to install those apps without them having to intervene necessarily. And that can also be for frontline help desk teams to go and do as well if you have that tiered help desk system. And of course, last but most definitely not least, Chocolatey Central Management, which we'll find out more about in day 3 on our webinar, is our web dashboard and API. And CCM gives you that high-level overview and reporting of your entire estate of endpoints in terms of Chocolatey packages that are installed on them and what packages are out of date. And you can even target those out-of-date packages and endpoints for remediation with deployments. And we've now added the Choco CCM PowerShell module, which Stevie will show off on day 7. And that'll allow you to interact with CCM programmatically, for those PowerShell folks in the chat and in our community, to not only collect that reporting data, but also to control endpoint groups and deployments. So we encourage you to check out chocolatey.org/business to learn a lot more about these Chocolatey for Business features. And feel free to get your hands on a free trial and start that conversation with our sales team. And we'll be around to demo that for you too, to your organization as you need be. Cool. Next slide, please, Rob. Awesome. So thank you for joining us today. I know we ran a little bit long, folks, but I appreciate all the input. This is the schedule for the 12 days of Chocolatey coming up here. Now, stay tuned for a lot of that stuff. A big one that's going to be happening tomorrow is day 3. Now, day 3 is the Chocolatey Central Management webinar. Just so you know, a quick reminder, that's going to be the webinar that you have to register for separately. So you won't be tuning in here. You will get a feed when you tune in here to go to the webinar to register. So day 3 and day 8, I believe, are webinars, and those are going to be outside of this platform. But for sure, register for those because those are really, really good talks. And I just quickly skimmed through the chat. It looks like our folks with the Chocolatey team, a lot of our family here is doing a great job of answering those questions, so I appreciate it. We don't really have that much extra time to go through a lot of those questions. I did see one come through really quick that said, would love C4B features and Ansible modules. There is Ansible modules, Chocolatey modules that have some features in there. We are looking to build more business features in there, including some of that Choco CCM stuff, the business stuff. So definitely stay tuned for that. That's a great question. We have a close partnership with Ansible, and we're working hard with that team to build more cool stuff. So for sure, stay tuned. Rob, did you have anything more to add before we say goodbye? I guess we need to add the form, right?
Yeah, let's try that. I tried to do it. It didn't let me. So hopefully you have better luck with that. And we're going to leave that survey open for about 30 minutes after we conclude the session. So make sure you get that filled out. If you didn't get it filled out yesterday, I'm sorry. And again, when we put that survey form up, that helps us figure out what swag and who's going to get some swag that comes along with that. Now, I wanted to touch on one thing. Oh, yeah. So if you're looking to get this on your schedule, we fully recommend it. And it looks like that link is out now for you.
That's the main form. Sorry. That was in the speaker notes. I'm going to pull up the other one. Just give me 1 second. I'll tag that as well. Go ahead, Rob.
Is that if you go and want to get this stuff on your calendar, go back to chocolatey.org/events, to that 12 days of chocolatey. And if you go down, there's actually places on there that you can go and add each of these days to your calendar so that nobody tags that time. And so you get a nice reminder that, hey, this is a live stream's getting ready to start, all that good stuff, so that you're not missing out on any of the great content we're putting out here.
Awesome. So I will just add the link here. Give me 1 second. Okay. Short URL. Copy. We're doing it live. Okay.
Doing it live.
Let's see if this works.
Oh, that was the registration form. Yeah. I'll try to get that other form in there.
There we go.
There
I think that.
So there's our survey.
I think that's in there. Yep. So that should go to all the platforms. So that's our survey form. So go ahead and answer that, and that will register you to.
There's a pretty picture in there.
Is there?
Yeah. Wonder who put that there.
I didn't even see that. Let's see. Cool. Oh, yeah. I see it now. Very cool. I haven't even seen the updated version of this form. Awesome. Okay, well, on that note, folks, go and fill out that survey. Thank you for joining us on day 2 here. Stay tuned for day 3, which is our big CCM webinar with Gary and Joel and the folks. We'll see you on that channel. But yes, as of the day after and the rest of the days, feel free to join us on same bat time,
same bat channel.
Rock on. Okay, have a merry 12 days of chocolatey, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.